Hey there, I'm Caleb Weber. Welcome to Beyond the Sidelines. The Cowboys re-signed Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $160 million deal. Frankie, what do you think about that?
I didn't know how to feel about this at first. I think this deal should have been done way earlier. Dak Prescott was a franchise quarterback before his injury. You don't know what's going to happen with injuries now. I mean, players lose their careers over injuries like that. And it really just didn't make sense to me that they signed him this deal after he got his injury. And it just, I don't know, I'm not feeling too good about it, but we'll see how he does, how he progresses from that injury, and we'll see how next season goes.
See, I'm not concerned about the injury at all. I think that the problem is we've already paid Zeke. Now we're paying Dak this giant deal, and we don't have the cap space to upgrade our defense and our O-line and places that, in those positions, those are what wins championships, not just your quarterback and running back. And I think we need to focus more on other aspects of the team besides Dak Prescott.
Well, I agree. I agree that, defense wins games. Obviously, the Cowboys' defense really needs some help. But, you can't just dismiss a big injury like this. This is a huge injury. And then after this injury, you're going to pay him this deal. And this should have been done so long ago. And now you don't know how he's going to play. I mean, it's basically like watching a new guy out there on the field. So
yep. Personally, I would have let him walk too, but it's just we've signed him now, and let's see what we can do. Let's see if he comes back healthy with his injury.
The Bucs re-signed Lavonte David and franchise-tagged Chris Godwin. Braden, what do you think about that?
I think it was a great move. I think they just won the Super Bowl, and Chris Godwin, one of their main targets on the team, someone that Tom Brady likes to go to. I think it was a great decision to franchise tag him, and Lavonte David is a great linebacker for the team. And as you know, defense wins championships. So signing him, great deal.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to agree. I think this is a great deal. Chris Godwin, I think a lot of the Buccaneers receivers are pretty underrated. You could go both ways with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. You could say Mike Evans is better, Chris Godwin is better. My opinion, I think Mike Evans is better. But Chris Godwin is still a great receiver. And resigning Lavonte David, great move. I think the Bucs have a good future ahead of them. The quarterback situation might change drastically in the next couple of years with Tom Brady's age catching up to him. But I think this is a great move.
The Lions didn't tag star wide receiver Kenny Golladay, meaning he will hit the open market in free agency. Braden, what do you think about that?
Well, Kenny Golladay, I obviously like him as a player. I drafted him to my fantasy team, and he was a little disappointing. Big injury, cost him a lot of games. But when he was on the field, he's a star receiver. He's arguably, I would probably say, put him in my top 10 in the NFL right now. He's a freak athlete, and he's a good target for Matthew Stafford. We know that Stafford has moved on to another team now. But I really think that Kenny Golladay, they should have re-signed him. They should have tagged him as a franchise star. What about you, Frankie?
I disagree with you 100%. What? He's a top 10 receiver in the league. He's a great receiver, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near top 10. And it's not even like he has a bad quarterback. He had Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is a solid quarterback. But top 10 receiver, no way. I can see where the Lions are going with this. I mean, maybe they want to start over. They want to give Goff new weapons. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad receiver. He's a great receiver. Nowhere near top 10, though. So
no, I think he is top 10. You haven't. Maybe you might not have seen him when he was fully healthy, but
I have seen him when he's fully healthy.
He is a Mike Evans type of guy. Go up and get it, throw deep down the field. He's going to burn the defense.
He is, but he's not Mike Evans. So.
I think he's a top 10 receiver, and I think any team that Kenny Golladay goes to, he's going to put up numbers. 1,000-yard season if he stays healthy. You'll just have to see.
Blake Griffin signs with the Nets after being bought out by the Pistons. Frankie, what do you think about that?
I think, a lot of people were kind of overreacting about the move. I think it was an okay move. Blake Griffin's kind of washed, in my opinion. Nothing too great. Solid player, don't get me wrong, but it kind of just brought a lot of attention to the Nets. Obviously, Blake Griffin is a big name in basketball, and I think skill-wise, he's a little washed, but it's a solid addition to the Nets. So, if they're gonna keep adding more players, and I think this is good for them. I think it was a little overhyped.
Yeah, I think that. I think Blake Griffin, I mean, he's a good player, but 5 years ago, he's a completely different player. He was 20 points, 10 rebounds a game type of guy. And the Nets kind of trying to build a young team, around Irving and Durant and Harden. And Blake Griffin I don't think he really brings what the Nets are going to need. I think he's only going to be a couple, maybe 2 seasons. He could retire pretty early. He's been in the league for a while. But I think this was a good market move. I think they're going to get a lot of money out of him, jersey sales.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fan bases that like Blake Griffin. A lot of fans are going to come to the Nets. And I think it was a smart move by the general manager, but I don't know how he's going to play with the Nets.
Where do y'all think Kenny Golladay will sign?
Personally, I think he goes to a team like the Patriots that have not really any assets at the receiver position. They've had some in the past. I mean, Edelman, you could argue, but he's hurt a lot. Just with Golladay, they're going to get a target back that they need, a go up and get it guy, like I said, burn the defense down the field. I think Golladay to the Patriots would be the best move for him and Bill Belichick.
I can see him going to the Patriots. I think a better destination for him would be the Giants. The Giants receiver situation in the past, I mean, they just come and go. They all just come and go. You got Odell, Cruz. They all come and go. And so, and it all involves, injuries and, just heartbreaking situations. But I think I can see him going to the Giants. I think Daniel Jones needs a solid receiver to throw to. And, when you hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, the whole game, you see what happens. Big injury. And so I think the Giants would be a great destination for Kenny Golladay.
What do y'all think the Chicago Bears will do with their quarterback situation? Frankie, take it away.
I think – so listen, the Bears have – in the past with their QBs, they've traded, they've looked in free agency. And then with Mitchell Trubisky, they drafted him, obviously. But, you can kind of tell that the Bears don't want him to be that guy. Even though I don't think Trubisky is that bad of a quarterback, it's obvious. They don't want him to be their franchise guy. So I think they need to stop with the trading, stop with the moves. They need to draft a solid quarterback and let him, sit maybe a year. I think that'll be good. I think the Bears should take another year of, them being mediocre, average, above average, and draft a quarterback and let him sit and let him watch the game just like Mahomes. And I think their quarterback situation will be fixed for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I watched a lot of the Chicago games this year, and really that's the piece they're missing. They got a good run game with Montgomery and Cohen, and then their defense is just always solid. They always have a top-tier defense. And what I agree with you about drafting the QB. I think but I don't think they should use an early pick on a QB. I think Dak Prescott was a draft pick in the 4th round. Tom Brady was undrafted. I think they can find one of those guys that kind of, just a late round guy that has a lot of potential that can kind of take over in the next couple years. Because I don't think they're going to be a star team next year or maybe even the next year. But in the future, if they keep their defense and their run game, drafting a quarterback late rounds, they can produce a good QB.
Yeah, I think it's just pretty rare for, teams to draft a quarterback in the late round and them be, a solid quarterback. I think that's kind of rare. I think they should take a shot. They should take a risk.
Yeah, but they took one at Mitchell Trubisky, and look where he is.
Yeah, I understand that, but, they put Mitch right out. They threw him out there. They threw him out there right off the bat. He didn't get a chance to sit or watch or anything. They threw him right out there. I think that really messed him up. I think they should take another shot, draft a quarterback in the early rounds, and, see what they get out of it.
Is the Dak signing a good move for the Cowboys? Frankie, take it away.
I talked about this earlier, and they should have just done it earlier. And, it would have been the same result, but it would have made so much more sense for them to sign him to that big deal before his injury. It just really doesn't make sense to me. I love Dak, don't get me wrong, but you can't just think he's going to be fine after that injury he had. That was extremely gruesome, and it's really hard for any player to come back from that. And it'll be a big surprise to me if he's the same player that he was before the injury. But I think it wasn't the best move for the Cowboys, but it's a risk, and you got to take risks. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't have signed him to this deal. He's been pushing it. Same thing as Zeke, and we just finally gave in and signed him. And that's something that Jerry Jones does a lot. He's very stubborn, and then eventually will just give in when all the fans really want Dak and Zeke back.
Yeah.
And the thing with Dak, we're taking a shot in the dark here. We don't know how he's going to be after his injury, but we know his potential. He was at an all-time high, I would say. I don't think he's going to be ever a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's a star that was a great player until this injury. And I don't know if I would have signed him until I knew how he was going to be coming back from that injury.
Yeah.
Are the Nets a lock for the NBA title after the signing of Blake Griffin? Bryden, what do you think?
I never really like to say any team's a lock. There's always, in the NBA, always something can happen. A lot of teams, there's a lot of good teams out there. The Jazz looking good. Lakers are always contenders with LeBron. Bucs are a great team. I just wouldn't say that the Nets are a lock. And like I said earlier, I don't think Blake Griffin's going to fit well with the team. He might score 10 points, 3 or 4 rebounds. I don't think he's going to be really what they were hoping for. He's kind of old now. I don't know. I just don't think they're going to be a lock for the title.
I don't know, honestly. It's really hard to tell, like you said. There's never really a lock, but I think they have a very high chance. They have great scorers on the team. The defense is solid.
Well, actually, I agree with you about the scores, but their defense is the worst defense efficiency in the league. They have one of the worst defenses with Harden. We know he's tremendously bad on defense.
Not necessarily. If you look at Harden's defense from the past couple of years, I said this about the Nets defense at the beginning of the year. I said their defense was not very good. But if you watch the Nets, and if you watch Harden, from the beginning of his career, defense awful, terrible. And he started progressing, he progressed, and his defense is not as bad as you think, not as bad as people think. If you really watch Harden, he actually plays defense now, and and their offense, if their defense isn't, and when I mean solid, I don't mean like their defense is good. I mean their defense is, their defense is like,
can get it done.
Yeah, they can get it done.
Okay.
But I just, look at their offense. Their offense.
Yeah, but they're all 30 points a game scorers, and they all kind of want to do it themselves. I don't really see Kevin Durant putting up big assist numbers, or I know Harden gets his assists, but he's more of a passer when they're open, not just move the ball around. He's playing for his stats, getting these assists, and not just moving the ball like a real point guard would do. So
I disagree. I think they're getting it done on offense. I think they're moving the ball around. They're doing great, taking good shots, and the team's filled with a bunch of scorers, but I think they're still getting it done. I think, I wouldn't say a lock yet, but I think that the Nets are obviously my pick. So,
on to our game picks for the week. Starting off with the Boston Celtics versus the Brooklyn Nets. Braden, what do you think?
I like the Celtics. I like their young core. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, 2 All-Stars. And the Nets, if they can get KD back, I think they're going to be a great team. But I got the Celtics in this game. I really think that Tatum and Brown are going to take over, both get 30 points, and I got Celtics.
I have the Nets in this game. I think the Nets, we just talked about them. They're great all around. You said their defense is lacking. I think their defense is not as bad as you think. But overall, I think their offense will overpower the Celtics defense and their whole team in general. I have the Nets.
Up next, we have the Phoenix Suns versus the Portland Trailblazers. Frankie?
I have the Suns. I love how the Suns are playing this year. I think they've completely, we saw them in the bubble. That was a great performance by them. And, it kind of showed you, it kind of foreshadowed a little bit, what was to come. And I love the Suns. I think they're playing great this year. All around, solid offense, solid defense. I have the Suns.
Yeah, I think the Suns are a great team, but I got one thing to say. It's game time. I got Trailblazers in this one.
Up next, we have the Golden State Warriors versus the LA Clippers. Braden?
Oh, give me the Warriors. Steph Curry's looked great, and if we can get Oubre back and healthy, he's had a bad shooting year, but he does his work inside, takes over the game by slashing at the basket, and Wiggins can also shoot the ball, so Warriors.
I disagree by a long shot. I think the Warriors are extremely mediocre this year. Obviously, they have a MVP like Steph right now, but, the injuries, with Clay out, it's not the same. Kelly Oubre has looked terrible this year. Extreme disappointment. I have the Clippers by a long shot.
Next up, the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Portland Trailblazers. Braden?
As much as I like Damian Lillard, I said it earlier, Dame time, but Zion, let's just say, he has looked incredible over these the last couple games, and Brandon Ingram too, he's a star. Two of those players, I think Brandon Ingram should have been all-star. I think he was snubbed. But Zion was an all-star starter, and those two are going to be the face of the league one day. I got the Pelicans.
I just don't know how you can compare a Zion Brandon Ingram duo to a Damian Lillard CJ McCollum duo.
Well, they're different positions, and McCollum might not be healthy. He's been out a couple games.
I know, but obviously these games are, in a couple weeks, and I think, if you get McCollum back, all right, I'll give it to you. If you get McCollum back, then I think Blazers have it. But if you don't, Zion and Brandon Ingram, come on now.
Too much.
It's too much. But, yeah, so if you, like I said, you get McCollum back, I got Trailblazers. If you don't, I think the Pelicans have the game. So I'll go both ways.
Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. Frankie?
This one's a tough one for me because I love both teams. I just think it's hard for me, honestly. I'll go Lakers. I think LeBron's a leader. There's no signs of him slowing down. I mean, if you watch him play, there's zero signs of him slowing down. I don't care what anybody says. There's no signs of him getting worse. I think he's stayed right where he's at, just like he's been the past couple of years. He's passing the ball around. Kuzma's looking a lot better this year. I feel like, last year it was kind of disappointing, but this year he's looking a lot better. I think I have the Lakers in this game. I think they're gonna edge it out.
And I think this one comes down to, can the Suns shoot the outside shots? Because if they get hot and start making them, Booker will put 30 points on you. And I think the Suns, playing a good team like this, I think they're going to get hot. I got the Suns.
Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Frankie?
See, with this game, I'll have to go. I want to go Mavs. My heart is telling me Mavs, but I just see the Clippers winning this game. I think the Clippers have great defense, and the past what I've seen, Luka has help, but he doesn't have the greatest help. If you grab a defense like the Clippers and you put them up against the Mavs, I think they're going to stop Luka, and they're going to stop that whole team. So I have Clippers.
I think that I'm going to disagree. I think that they have the stars, they have the people around Luka that they want. I think when Luka hasn't played, they are 2-0, and Hardaway and Burke and Brunson's really stepped up this year. He's an 8 points a game scorer, scoring 13 this year, and Hardaway's been hitting some shots. Kleba's been great shooting the outside. He's shooting 45% for the triple, and I just really think that the team with a healthy Porzingis, a healthy Luka, I can see them going a distance this year.
I just don't. I think they need one more piece. It seems to me, you said when Luka isn't playing, they're 2-0. But it seems to me when Luka is playing, they kind of just fall apart sometimes.
They do. I don't think
Luka scores all the buckets.
Because he tries to take over the game. He takes the most shots. If we would just work the offense around Luka and stop him between the legs 3 times, step back, that's just not a good shot. That's not what we want as a team. We want to move it inside, get inside, work inside and out. But I still think the Mavs are going to win this game.
Finally, the Utah Jazz versus the Golden State Warriors. Braden?
This is a really tough one. The Warriors, I like the Warriors. I like Curry. It's really hard to pick against Steph Curry. But I think the Jazz just have a better team, have a better coaching staff, run the pick and roll offense, and that's one of the only teams in the league that actually runs plays, runs the offense. And I think that Mitchell and Conley and Gobert, I think they're the team. I think they're the team to beat right now, and I don't see them losing many games. I got them winning.
This last game pick, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna agree with you not because I hate the Warriors, but just like you said, I think the Jazz have all the pieces. They have Rudy Gobert, great defensive player. They have Donovan Mitchell, offensively great. They have just so many pieces to every aspect of the game, and I think they'll smoke a Warriors team like this. Without
they're one of the only teams in the NBA that actually puts effort into on the defensive end, and they can score. I mean, Mitchell in the bubble looked great. Scored felt like he scored like 50 points a night.
It was crazy.
But
no, yeah, I agree with you. I just think the Warriors are so overhyped every single year, and like I said before, you have an MVP caliber Steph, but you can't just have an MVP caliber player. You got to have stuff around a player like that. So I think I got the Jazz.
That's all for today on Behind the Sidelines. Thank you. Have a good one.